You know how people say you just know when you've met the one? Used to roll my eyes at that. Thought it was something people said in movies to make the love story feel bigger. Then I met her. It was a rainy Thursday. It's a kind of day that feels like the world's moving in slow motion. I ducked into this little cafe just to get warm, shaking water off my jacket. And there she was, sitting by the window, sipping something with foam on top, reading a book I'd just finished. A week before, I made a stupid comment about the ending being overrated. She looked up, smiled, and argued with me for a solid 10 minutes. I was hooked before I even knew her last name. Our first few weeks were a blur. Late-night walks where we shared earbuds, laughing at dumb jokes that probably wouldn't be funny to anyone else. She had this way of making the whole world feel smaller, quieter, like nothing outside the two of us mattered. We collected little moments like souvenirs. The time she tried to teach me to bake cookies and forgot the sugar. So we ended up with these weird, sad biscuits. The night we got caught in the rain and decided to just keep walking instead of running for cover. The way she'd reach for my hand without looking, like it was second nature. I wasn't just happy, I was safe. I'd been in relationships before, but this felt different. There was a spark, sure, but also this steady, comforting glow. Like I'd finally found my place. Looking back now, I realized that was the dangerous part. I thought we were building something unshakable. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out, I didn't know what book we were reading at all. At first, it was nothing, at least. That's what I told myself. A little disagreement here, a sarcastic jab there. The kind of stuff every couple deals with, right? We argued over dumb things, where to eat, how late we should stay out, whether that movie I loved was actually good or just nostalgia talking, but it wasn't the arguments themselves that stuck with me. It was the way they ended. She'd go quiet, stare down at her phone, and then toss out a question like, "Do you even care about me?" Not in a joking tone, not fishing for a laugh, just serious, and when I'd say, "Of course I do." She'd smile like she believed me, but her eyes would flicker for a second. Like she was still keeping score somewhere in the back of her mind. I started noticing little patterns. She'd drop these scenarios into conversation like, "What would you do if I just left one day?" Or, "Would you even fight for me?" If I said I was done, she'd laugh after saying it, but there was always this pause before the laugh. Like she was waiting for my answer. Measuring it, I brushed it off. Told myself it was just her way of being playful or maybe a little insecure. Relationships aren't perfect. People have their quirks, but somewhere in the back of my mind I couldn't help but wonder, was she trying to prove something to herself? Or was she just setting up a test I didn't know I was supposed to take? Funny thing is, when you look back, those small cracks, they're never as small as you think. It didn't happen all at once. No big fight, no slammed doors, just little pieces of us falling away without a sound. Her texts got shorter. One-word answers where there used to be long paragraphs. "K, sure. Fine." I'd send something funny, something I knew she'd usually laugh at, and hours later, I'd get lol, lowercase. No emoji. Calls felt like business meetings. "Hey, did you pick up milk? What time are we meeting?" No warmth. No hey. "How was your day?" Even when we were in the same room, it felt like she was miles away. We'd sit down for dinner. 2 plates. No conversation. I'd ask about her day. She'd shrug and say it was fine without looking up. And then the silence would settle in, heavy and awkward, like we were both waiting for the other person to break it. I tried to tell myself she was just stressed. Work, life, it happens. People go through phases. But then there were these moments, these little flickers of something I couldn't name, like she was studying me, watching my reactions. One night we were watching TV. Well, the TV was on, but neither of us was actually watching it, and I caught her staring at me, not in a sweet, "I love you" kind of way, more like she was taking notes for a test I didn't know I'd signed up for. And that's when it hit me. Something had changed. I just couldn't figure out what or why. It was a Thursday night. Of those boring, nothing special evenings where you're half watching TV. and half scrolling through your phone? My phone rang, her name lighting up the screen. I smiled when I answered, thinking maybe this was the night she'd finally open up about what had been bothering her. Instead, I got, "I think we should break up." It's just like that, no warm-up. The kind of laugh that comes out when you're sure you misheard. Wait, what? Why? She said she needed space. She wasn't happy, but couldn't explain exactly why. No yelling, no tears, just a flat tone like she was ordering a coffee. And the whole time, I was waiting for the part where she'd say she was joking, or exaggerating, or that she just needed a weekend to clear her head. But that part never came. I tried to ask if we could talk in person, figure things out. She cut me off. "It's better this way." When the call ended, I just sat there, staring at my phone like maybe it would ring again, and she'd say I didn't mean it. My chest felt tight, my thoughts scrambled. I couldn't even remember if I'd been breathing. The room felt colder. The TV was still on, but I couldn't hear a word. I put my phone down and it just slipped from my hand onto the floor. The sound of it hitting the carpet was louder than anything else in the world right then. She was gone. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. The first night after she left, I didn't sleep. I laid there in the dark, phone in my hand, scrolling through our old photos like I was trying to rewind time with my thumb. There she was, smiling at me over coffee, holding my hand in the park, making that stupid face she always made when she caught me staring too long. Every picture felt like a punch in the chest, because if she really meant what she said, did any of that mean anything to her? I found myself rereading our old messages, the "I love us," the long midnight conversations, the random thinking of you texts she used to send. I stared at them until the words didn't even look like words anymore. The rain started sometime. Around 2 a.m. I remember just lying there, listening to it hit the window. I was feeling like the whole world was reflecting exactly how I felt. Cold, gray, and relentless. The worst part? My brain wouldn't stop replaying the call, her voice, that flat, almost bored tone when she said it was over. I kept thinking, was I really that easy to walk away from? By morning, my eyes burned from staying awake. My phone sat on the nightstand, silent, no calls, no texts, no, "I'm sorry," just nothing. And that's when it really hit me. She wasn't coming back. It was 3 weeks later when I finally found out, and I didn't even hear it from her. I was sitting in this little cafe I go to on weekends, trying to drown my thoughts in caffeine, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from one of our mutual friends, the kind of friend who usually only texts if it's someone's birthday, or they need a ride to the airport. The text was short, almost casual. "Hey, just so you know, she didn't really want to break up. It was kind of a test." A test. I stared at that word so long the letters blurred. Apparently, she wanted to see if I'd fight for her. If I'd show up at her door, begging her to stay. If I'd prove I couldn't live without her. I sat there, my coffee going cold in front of me, trying to process the fact that my entire heartbreak, my sleepless nights, my self-blame, all of it was part of some twisted experiment she thought was romantic. I could almost hear her voice saying it. If he really loves me, he'll chase me. And I guess in her mind, me respecting her decision to end things meant I didn't care. But what was I supposed to do? Crash through her boundaries? Ignore her words? The realization hit me like ice in my veins. She hadn't been honest. She'd been playing. And I'd been the punchline. I didn't touch my coffee. Just sat there watching steam fade into nothing, feeling the exact same thing happen to whatever was left of my trust in her. I didn't even think about what I'd say. I just called her. She answered like nothing had happened, all casual, like we were old friends catching up after a trip. I didn't waste time, I know. I said. She paused. No, what? That the breakup was fake, that it was a test. There was a moment of silence, and then she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not even an embarrassed one. A light, airy laugh, like I had just found out about some harmless prank. "Oh my God, you're making it sound so bad," she said. "It was just to see if you cared. If you'd fight for me, fight for her." I felt something in me snap. You think love is some kind of reality show challenge? That I'm supposed to read your mind, ignore your words, and prove I care by? Breaking every boundary you set? She sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. You didn't even try. You didn't show up. That's when it hit me. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't even sorry. In her mind, this made sense? She was just disappointed in me for not playing along. I felt my hands shaking, the cold air biting at my fingers as I stood there in the park, phone pressed to my ear. The wind carried away the last thing I said to her. If you have to trick someone to prove they love you, maybe you don't deserve their love in the first place. I hung up before she could answer. The narrator finally seized the relationship for what it was. Not love, but manipulation wrapped in a test she never should have given. In that moment, the weight of months of confusion and pain lifts, replaced by a sharp, almost painful clarity. When she suddenly flips from smug to desperate, begging you not to leave, it only confirms the decision. You don't raise your voice, you don't argue, you just walk away. In the days that follow, the emptiness starts to loosen its grip. The narrator begins reclaiming pieces of themselves they didn't even realize they'd lost. Morning runs replace sleepless nights. Coffee with old friends feels warm in a way they'd forgotten. Even small things, cooking a favorite meal, listening to music too loud, or walking with no destination, become small acts of taking life back. There's no instant I'm fine now moment, but each day feels a little lighter than the last. The narrator turns to the audience, speaking with the calm certainty that only comes after pain has settled into wisdom. They reflect on how real love doesn't need elaborate tests or manipulations to prove itself, that trust, once cracked, can't simply be glued back together without scars. They admit they once believed love meant fighting no matter what, but now they know love should feel safe, not like a puzzle you have to solve to earn it. The story closes, not with bitterness, but with quiet acceptance and a sense of peace about moving forward.